Fight Mike here. Today I'm going to be discussing the main event of UFC Perth headlined by Carlos Ulberg and Dominick Reyes. And I must say, as a Dominick Reyes enjoyer, I am a little bit worried. But I think that this is going to be a very interesting fight between these two light heavyweights. I think that they're in like a crossroads in both of their career, where Reyes is in like a career resurgence. And he's been on a couple of fight winning streak. And Carlos Ulberg's been on an absolute tear. I think he's on a 7 or 8 fight winning streak. And he's fought a couple of really good guys recently as well, getting wins over all of them. And it's very much a crossroads fight because we've got these two guys. One of them who's already been at the pinnacle of the top. One of them that's already fought for the title in Dominick Reyes against the GOAT of the sport, Jon Jones. Against someone who's really coming up and really starting to come into their own fighter, who's been in the UFC for a very long time. I believe that Ulberg debuted in UFC 257 on the Blachowicz versus Adesanya card, and he got KO'd by Kennedy and Nzechukwu, and since then he's been on an absolute tear, beating everyone that the UFC put in front of him. So it's a very, very good fight, with two guys who have got a lot of momentum behind them. But I will say, though, out of their last few fights for both of these guys, why I find it very interesting is that neither have been really tested with like a gritty, tough matchup. With Reyes' career resurgence, he's gotten finishes over these guys very quickly without much resistance. And on the come up from Ulberg, he's got a very damage-averse style. He really avoids shots very well. And his last couple of opponents, he's either dispatched them easily, like Alonzo Menifield, or he's sort of had like a tit-for-tat battle where his opponent, like Volkan Ozdemir or Jan Blachowicz, where both of those guys really didn't push the pace or put him into a difficult spot. And I think that both of these guys are going to be put in places where they don't want to be in this fight, and it's going to be a really, really interesting matchup between the two of them. I think because of the style of Ulberg, though, him thriving in space, working his setups, using his range keepers, his jab and the leg kick, I think that that's going to be a little bit of trouble for Reyes. And Ulberg's got very, very good footwork, great eyes, very good setups as well. He checks kicks and avoids punches very well. He's very defensively sound. So I think that Reyes, a guy who likes to come forward or counter shots, it doesn't really bode well for him. Neither of these guys really have a style where I can point to a specific aspect of their game and be like, oh, okay, he can get it done here. Because they're both counter strikers. They both do their best work on the back foot. I just will say, I think that Reyes moving forward is a little bit better. He still does like to catch people on the back foot with his counter straight. But when he comes forward with very educated offense, trying not to overextend. He does a lot of nice kicks at range, especially the kicks to the body. And then he's got a really nice long jab as well. So both of these guys at range are going to be very dangerous to each other. But if I'm Dominick Reyes, I'm coming in with a very specific game plan. I think close range, Reyes doesn't do his best work. He's been finished up close 3 times by Blachowicz, Yuri Prochazka, Ryan Spann. All of these guys were easily able to finish him up close. But in that mid-range, just closer than that kicking range, I think that's where where this fight should take place. I think what he should be doing straight away is get on the pressure, make Ulberg throw early, and make sure that he's sapping his cardio by moving backwards constantly and having a lot to think about. And then he should be trying to catch Ulberg as Ulberg's throwing those leg kicks. And he should be trying to catch him with that straight left. Because one thing about Ulberg, even if he looks super athletic, he's not actually the most fast fighter in the light heavyweight division. His footwork, I think he's probably got the fastest footwork in light heavyweight. But hand speed and kick speed is quite normal, actually. I would even give the edge in the hand speed to Dominick Reyes. I would even say Dominick Reyes is probably the second fastest hands in light heavyweight, just under Khalil Roundtree. And Dominick will be able to capitalize on that if he stays in that range just before the kicks and he tries to catch Ulberg whilst Ulberg's kicking. The thing is that Ulberg stands very tall and he squares up a lot whilst kicking. So if he does that against Reyes, Reyes is going to have a shot at catching him like Guskov did to Krylov at the UFC Saudi Arabia card a couple of months ago. And the thing is that if he can start timing Carlos Ulberg's main weapon, the main leg kick, with that straight left, I think that he's going to be able to land a lot, and he will be able to dissuade Carlos from using his main weapon. I also think that if they both are trying to work on the back foot, Reyes should still try to press the action because apart from the Alonzo Manyfield KO, he doesn't really have a lot of one-hitter quitter power, especially early. Alonzo really just came forward and just walked into shots for the first 15 seconds and got finished very quickly. Reyes is a lot more educated than that. I don't think he should be trying to push forward with trying to be in like elbow range with Ulberg because I'm sure he'll be able to find a counter, but he should be really trying to push him, back him up against the fence, limit the amount of kicks that he can throw, and really try and catch him as Ulberg's trying to escape, winning the outside foot battle. But if I am Carlos Ulberg, I'm looking to keep the range. I'm looking to bait out the straight left of Reyes and try to counter over the top of it. This is the typical orthodox versus southpaw fight, so you're not going to see many jabs between the two of them. And when the fight starts, they're both going to instantly veer off trying to win that outside foot battle. But if I'm Ulberg, I'm trying to work behind that rear hand, use combinations of that. Even though Dominick Reyes' best shot is that straight left, if Ulberg notices that he's winning that outside foot battle, he should be trying to use his own straight left and trying to fire off a combination after that. The liver is free for both of these guys because they're in open stance. So if I'm Ulberg, I'm trying to do the sort of Jan Blachowicz strategy that Jan was able to use against Reyes very well, where he was using either his jab or his straight to set up the shot straight to the body kick straight to the body, the roundhouse kick straight to the liver, and that worked really, really well against Reyes. When they were in that open stance, he was constantly catching Reyes. Reyes didn't really want to block it properly and was kind of eating a lot of those shots, and I think that that's what caused the knockout with the left hook from Jan Blachowicz, because he made Reyes think about that body shot so much that he wasn't really aware of the shots coming over the top and he got cleaved instantly. And I think that Ulberg needs to employ that same strategy because we haven't really seen Reyes make the reasonable adjustments to stop that from happening to him. I think he should be slamming head kicks to Dominick Reyes very often as well, keeping those hands occupied, making sure that Reyes does really have that high guard until the end of the combinations. And then I think a body teep would also bode well for Carlos Ulberg because it's very unlikely that Carlos is going to get caught with a body teep whilst he's throwing that body teep because he's got such long legs. I'm also not convinced that Reyes' chin is properly back. So Ulberg should really be trying to target the body, maybe throw some body punches, try to hit the liver a couple of times. And then when he brings it back upstairs, he should throw and throw hard. I don't think he should be aiming for the head too often, though. Try and catch Reyes off guard and smack that chin. And I think the lead counter hook will be money for Ulberg in those later rounds. He just has to blade his stance a little bit further to be more unbalanced because he's going to get caught a few times whilst doing that, but he has shown a very good chin. My recommendation would be to try slow down the hand speed of Reyes, try to slow down the fight in general, keep the pace very low, and avoid the boxing unless it's to counter later on into the fight. But my official prediction for this fight is that even if Ulberg isn't a massive finisher, I think he's going to be able to finish Reyes in the 4th or 5th rounds. People talk about the career resurgence of Dominick Reyes, and he's on a beautiful 3-fight KO streak over Jacoby, Anthony Smith, and Nikita Krylov, but none of those fighters were able to really put up any resistance against Dominick Reyes. Whereas a lot of people clown Carlos Ulberg for the loss to Kennedy and Nzechukwu, which is his only KO loss and only loss in his entire career. I think he basically shit the bed in that fight. And we're talking about Ulberg like he's got a bad chin, like Dominick Reyes didn't get KO'd 3 times in a row by Ryan Spann, Blachowicz, and Prohaska, even though all of them are very heavy hitters. You can't really clown Ulberg for the KO loss that he suffered to Kennedy and Nzechukwu, because Nzechukwu's now a heavyweight, knocking out heavyweights. And Ulberg threw the kitchen sink at Nzechukwu before he got finished in that fight. And it was sort of just due to gassing out that he got finished. I think that this fight is a similar situation to Lerone Murphy and Aaron Pico. Not in the stylistic matchup at all, but I think it's similar in the fact that where Lerone hadn't got a finish in years, and he was fighting against very durable guys. He was fighting the Dan Igues, the Josh Emmets, the Barbosas. These guys are very durable fighters, but in the first glass cannon that he fights in Aaron Pico, he got a flatline KO. I see this being a very similar situation. Most of Ulberg's opponents are very durable guys like your Blachowicz, your Ozdemirs, but then the ones that aren't as durable, Ulberg is finishing them. He's finishing the Alonzo Manyfields, and the thing is that Reyes is knocking out guys who are not nearly as durable as Carlos. Carlos has only been KO'd once, and he's been caught by big KO punches like Jan Blachowicz, even if it's not a prime Jan, or a Volkan Oezdemir. And the thing is that the people that Reyes were flatlining was a Krylov who got flatlined 3 months later, and Anthony Smith who was on the tail end of his career, getting finished left, right, and center. Even Dustin Jacoby, who's a fantastic kickboxer in his own right, he is a very finishable fighter, getting hurt every round against Alonzo Menifield, or getting finished by Dominick Reyes with a one-punch KO. I think it's going to be pretty even in the fight, probably very boring early. But as the fight goes along, I can see both guys getting a little bit sloppier. But due to Carlos being such a low-output fighter, I think he's going to have more in the tank in those later rounds. And he's going to be able to catch Reyes when he's getting a little bit lazy. Maybe he throws a straight left whilst leaning over the top of his feet a little bit. And I think Ulberg's going to be able to capitalize on those mistakes and finish Dominick Reyes. As much as it's hard for me to say, I'm a massive Reyes fan. I thought he beat John Jones flat out three rounds to 2, but it is what it is. I hope Reyes is able to get the win. I don't find Ulberg all that entertaining, but I think Ulberg's going to be able to get his first KO in a couple of years against Dominick Reyes. Let me know what you think of this fight. Who do you think will win? As always, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and a comment, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.